Alaska, Russian President Putin has publicly reaffirmed Donald Trump's long-standing claim regarding the Ukraine conflict. Putin says the war in Ukraine would not have started if Trump could have been president in 2022. Putin pointed out to what he called as a missed opportunity for diplomacy, adding that he had warned the Biden administration about the risk of escalation well before the invasion. Let's listen in.
I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, businesslike, and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine.
Well, Srinjoy, are we moving in circles as far as the world leaders are concerned? Because Putin stays put. Because he says for all of that to happen, for the war to end, all of the root causes of the crisis must be eliminated.
Something has to give. The problem here is Russia has taken hold of the Crimea, which Russia says is Russian. And that happened in 2014. There is Donetsk and Luhansk. That too is now Russian or Russian controlled. Now Ukraine says that it is our territory. Now who decides what is whose territory? Now one option is the Indian option. And India has said, let's quickly end the war. Let's have a ceasefire. Let both sides sit down and let both sides talk. Is this something both sides want? Is this something the Americans are keen on? Is this something NATO agrees with? Is this something the West agrees with? We don't know. All this is really very difficult to sort out. And Russia will say, we've paid for these areas in blood. They have lost 500,000 lives, perhaps, maybe more. So as a result, there does not seem to be any reason for Russia to pull out of these three areas. And Ukraine and the West are consistent in their belief that those areas are Ukrainian. So if you're going to fight over these three issues, then why have peace? Is the argument both sides are coming up with. So Russia wants to hold on to these three areas. Ukraine wants it back. So does the West. So does America. So there is no point there is no common ground emerging. So it is only natural that President Trump has said that we are yet to have a deal. On the other hand, as far as President Putin is concerned,
yes,
he has divided up the Western alliance.
Yes.
He has met Trump. Now, no other Western leader, whether it's Starmer, whether it's Macron, anymore.
We've seen the back-to-back meetings that has been taking place. However, President Putin is of the opinion that he has agreed with Donald Trump on ensuring Ukraine's security, saying that Moscow was ready to work on this. However, more details have not been offered by the Russian leader. But in the meantime,